There one. So I welcome you to our conversation today. That the second day, and today we are going to discuss about the Igbo and the Israel, Igbo and Jews. Are Igbo Jews? Ndị Igbo ha bụ ndị Jew. So today we are going to, anyị ga-eje na history, anyị ga-eje na akụkọ ala. Let's find out if really the Igbos are Jews. And where did this notion or this assumption that Igbos are Jews, where did it come from? So who started this thing that Igbos were Jews? How did it come into existence? Who was the first person that made such claim? So these are the things we are going to discuss today, and it's very, very important that you pay attention to this conversation. It's very, 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 very important because akụkọ gbasara ndị Igbo if you notice over the years, you'll be hearing about ndị Igbo bụ ndị Jew, ndị Igbo bụ ndị Jew. When people, a lot of people don't know where this idea or where this ideology, started from, where it stemmed from. Where did it start? Who started it? That is what we are going to highlight. Like I said, we are not going to make some conclusion yet because we are going to explore all the theories of Igbo origin. And this Igbo being part of Israel or Igbo being Jews is still, one of the Oriental theories of Igbo origin categorized by Professor Afibo, who was an Igbo historian. Now, let's go to history. Where did this teaching come from that Igbo were Jews? As if from Jews, and they traveled from Israel and they came to Igbo land today and live. Igbos are Jews. So why? Where? Now, let's start. During the time of slave trade, there was this man who he was an Igbo, sold into slavery at age of 11. Then his name would be known as Olauda Equiano. Olauda Equiano. Olauda Equiano was from a place in his autobiography published in the year 1789. He said that he came from a place called Iseke, that was under Benin Empire. Because then a lot of places today were under Benin Empire then. Not as if they were Benin, but I will talk about that leadership of Benin. And that's also go to be some theories of Igbo origin, talking about greater states, according to Afibo. We highlight that subsequently. So this man was born in the year 1745. That was the year he was born, and he died in 1797. Very long time ago. So, and when he was sold into slavery, he was just age of 11 because he wrote all this in his autobiography, and this autobiography, it is called Gustavus Vesa, the African. That was the name. Then when it was translated into the English language, or what kind of written in English, it was called the interesting narrative of the life of Olauda Equiano. The interesting narrative of the life of Olauda Equiano. So he wrote his autobiography about his story, his life, of his memoir. He was talking about his origin, his ancestry, how he was picked, but he didn't know much about, because he was just 11 years old, but he could at least, sense of, he just had sense of his originality. You understand? So when he was sold into slavery, then he was shipped with together with other 244 African slaves that were, shipped across Atlantic Ocean to Barbados in the British West Indies. And from there, some people were sent to Virginia in the United States. He was one of those who was sent to the Virginia. Then a man called Michael Henry Pascal bought him. So he was sold to a lot of people. He was sold to a lot of people. Then it was the man who gave him the name Gustavus Vasa. It was named after a 16th century Swedish man called a king of in Sweden called Gustav versa. He was named after him. So then slaves, they had no name. Whatever name you had, they would change it to give you their own name, which is British name. It's so unfortunate to say that some of the name we bear, most of us bearing English name, we don't even know how all these things came to be. It's colonialism. They believe that we don't even exist, we don't even have name, we don't even have identity. So the white man must give you your name for you to answer a name. So your name doesn't even exist. Don't have no have no identity as an African. Then, so when you study the history of slave trade and how name come to be, imagine some of us today. Someone will ask you, "What is your English name?" So if you don't have English name, it's as if you don't exist. That is a colonial mindset. And these are the things we are going to highlight in this our historical conversation. It will be a very long ride, so we are going to say a lot of things about all these things, how this is going to be. Then this book was published. That was when after he bought himself out from slave, because then as a slave you can actually buy yourself out to be free. So after many experience, a lot of experiences, so he kind of got his freedom. And by then he was sent to the to UK, to the Britain. Pascal took him to Britain and trained him in school. That is when he learned how to speak English and write. Then he wrote his autobiography, published in 1789, and the book went viral. Like, it was very viral. He was even alive when the ninth edition was published. So the ninth edition was published, and it was even part of, because then he was an abolitionist. He was fighting for the freedom of all the slaves. Then and the part of his book, part of the because of the book, the British even passed it. It was kind of incorporated as into British Slave Trade Act of 1807, because this man was part of the movement fighting for emancipation of slave trade. All right. Then during the process, he was converted into Christianity. He was converted into Christianity. Then he read the Bible, started studying the Bible. He learned about the Jews. He learned about everything in the Bible. Then he started linking the Igbo. Then he called the Igbo, Eboe. That's how he spelled it, Igbo. And the proponents of the Igbo-Jewish always say that Igbo means Hebrew, means Hebrew. They try to convert it. They try to make it sound so aligned. I mean, subsequent people. So that was the first person that ever linked Igbo Jewish ancestry, was allowed that Equiano was the first man when he was writing his autobiography after being converted into Christianity. So he was trying to write about his place. So he insinuated, or he assumed, that there are some kind of relationship, you know, between the Igbo and the Jews, a cultural relationship or a traditional relationship. That was the first person that ever mentioned it. Now, when did Christianity come to Igbo land? Was in 1857. There was no Christianity, there was no Bible, there was no knowledge of anybody Jews. The Igbo people didn't know anything about Jews or no Jews. So it was in the 1857 that the colonial government, together with the British missionaries, they brought religion. Yeah, Christianity came to Igbo land in Onitsha in 1957. Then people started reading about Bible. They started learning about the Jews. That was when, oh, okay, okay, Jews behave like us, so it seems like we are Jews. That is how that was how all this thing started. So Elode Ekwano was the first person who mentioned that similarity. Then Christianity coming to Igbo land prior to 1987. Prior to 15 to 19 sorry 1857, that Christianity came to Igbo land first in Onitsha. There was no knowledge about Jews or no Jews, Hebrews or no Hebrews. There was no knowledge prior to that moment. So it was when the teaching of the Christianity started getting momentum in Igbo land. People began to link, oh, it seems like we are like these people. Okay, there are some similarities. But then the question is that, are we truly Igbo? Are we truly Jews? Are we Igbo? Where are we from? How did we come to this place we are existing today? What is the relationship between us and the Jews? Why are some people claiming that Igbos are Jews? Oh, because we have cultural similarities. What about other African countries? Because a lot of African countries that have similarities with Igbo. Why don't we mention those ones? Why always Jews? This is the question we need to ask ourselves. But we are not going to conclude yet because this is like a continuous conversation. But today, the highlight of what to capture today is that the first person to mention any similarities between the Igbo or sense if there is any similarity between the Igbo and Jews was Olaudah Equiano. And I give you a very short biography of his existence. He was an slave from Igbo land who was sold as a child into slavery, and he wrote his autobiography. And researchers, scholars started digging into the autobiography. Say, oh, this our brother is from here. He's an Igbo. So that was it. Then he was the first person that mentioned it. The second person that mentioned it was not the second person, but how we got the sense of all these things during the missionary when they came. Because without Bible, without knowing about, we didn't know anything about Jews or no Jews. It's only Bible that we learn about the Jews. Yeah. So, and there are many other things. Then as time goes on, we start having the issue of Gadi, Ubu Gadi, or this Gadi, that Ubu Gadi, Eri. Eri is the father of Unri. Eri is from the lost tribe of Judah. The lost tribe now migrated to this, all these kind of teachings of the Igbo ancestries, kind of. It can be funny, but we find out what is Ubu Gadi. Ubu Gadi is Naguriri. But then we have oral traditions. We have oral traditions. Each community of Igbo land, each community, each clan, we have oral traditions that shows our existence. So that means, let me not give a conclusion yet. We find out at one, because I don't want to summarize everything now. I will highlight all the points about Igbo ancestry, Igbo origin, all the theories, even the one we believe and the one we don't believe. I will highlight all of them. Then after everything, we now summarize hitting point in all those things for them. So that is it we are going to take for today. So today we just learn about the interesting narrative of Olaudah Equiano, and tomorrow we are going to highlight other aspects of theories of Igbo ancestry. Ndewo no. Ndewo. Ya gazie.